Um, Thank you very much. To begin our opening, I just wanted to thank Andrew and his team, the Planning Division Department with the Department of Hawaiian Homelands to bringing this beneficiary consultation. And it's just an exciting development and exciting plan that they're going to present. So we want to give kudos to the department. Before we pass, I wanted to ask Anakia, Ms. Myers from the Nanakuli Hawaiian Homestead, if you could please open up with a puli. Mahalo.
Thank you, Commissioner. For those of you who acknowledge, please bow your heads and we can join in each other in prayer. Heavenly Father, please bless this meeting. Please bless everyone that is participating, our commissioners, our DHHL administration and staff. Please guide us this evening as we kuka kuka with one another with respect. Please help the department to answer all of our questions and concerns and help to support the waitlisters with opportunities that are being made and afforded for them. Thank you, Kelkua, for guiding us and bringing us to this moment. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mahalo.
Amen. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Jermaine. Mahalo, Commissioner Turia. Once again, my name is Andrew Choi. I'm the Acting Planning Program Manager with the department. For those of you who just signed on, if you don't mind signing into the chat with your first and last name and let us know whether you are a DHL lessee, a homestead lessee, or a waitlist applicant, or if you're not either of those, then you can just put other. While you're doing that, I'd just like to take the time to introduce the team from DHL tonight. With us tonight, we have Cedric Dort, who is the Information Community Relations Manager with the department. He is the tech guru, and he will be monitoring our chat and running this presentation tonight. With us also, we have Perline Fukupa from the Planning Office. She will be taking the notes and making sure that your comments are heard. In addition to that, I'd just like to let you know that this meeting is being recorded and we will post it to the DHHL website shortly after the meeting is paused. We'll also be posting the presentation as well. Also with us this evening, we have Darryl Ng from our Land Development Division. He is the project manager for this project. So mahalo, Darryl, for joining us this evening. He is having audio difficulties, so hopefully we can try to resolve that throughout the meeting. And then also with us tonight, we have our engineering consultants from Cheryl Nojima from Gray Hong and Nojima Associates, and she will also be part of the presentation tonight. Cedric, if you don't mind advancing the slide. So just a quick housekeeping. I think by now most everyone is familiar with the Zoom controls and has participated extensively in Zoom meetings throughout the pandemic. But just for those of you who may be new to Zoom, just a quick reminder. If you're not talking, please remember to mute your microphone so that if your dog is barking or if your neighbor is cutting the grass, we don't all hear that. And also during the meeting, should you have questions, you can raise your hand. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. So in the meantime, you can raise your hand. You can also type your questions into the chat at any time, and we will get back to those questions that are in the chat. So two options to let us know that you want to talk tonight: raise your hand or type in the chat. And then again, this meeting is being recorded and we will be posting it to the meeting website. And then one last plug for those of you who just joined us, please sign in to the chat box, give us your first and last name. Let us know if you are a DHHL homestead lessee or waitlist applicant, or if you are not one of those, you can just type other. Okay, next slide. While we are meeting virtually, we still have meeting kuleana to everyone else in the meeting. So just wanted to remind folks that we need to be respectful when talking. Please do not interrupt the person that is talking. Please wait for the facilitator to call on you. I will be facilitating much of the meeting this evening. When addressing other participants, either verbally or in the chat box, please be respectful and treat others how you would like to be treated. Again, please, this is a meeting to share opinion and thoughts. So sometimes our thoughts may not be agreeable to everybody, but just agree to disagree and accept that others may have different perspectives and opinions than you. And then lastly, please have an open mind and please be mindful to take home new ideas and new information with you this evening. And that goes not just for the beneficiaries attending, but also for DHHL staff. So just a real quick overview of what we'll be going through this evening. There's really two main parts to the meeting. We will be giving you a presentation and overview of the project background and the alternative site plans that the department is currently considering for the site. And then the second part of the meeting is our turn to listen to you folks. We will answer any questions that you may have from the presentation. And we also have questions that we want to ask you about and get your feedback on. So first part of the meeting, presentation by the department, and then second part of the meeting, an opportunity for you folks to ask questions and share your mana'o with us. Next slide. So once again, the purpose of this meeting, the department is planning the design of approximately 40 acres in Māʻili on the island of Oahu. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss possible site plans and housing options for our new homestead community. This diagram just generally shows the general time frame for any Hawaiian Homelands project when it is developing raw, undeveloped land. So it usually takes between 6 to 12 years. We are in the blue box right now. We're going through the planning and environmental compliance. And then the next stage is the engineering and design. That is when we do the more detailed engineering work. Like things are designed to like the inch, And then after that, construction plans are made and we begin infrastructure construction and then house construction. So again, it typically takes the department 6 to 12 years to get through all of these processes. And the time to develop is dependent upon the department receiving funding for each of these phases of development. So currently we have funding for the blue box, the planning and environmental compliance. And just recently today, our Hawaiian Homes Commission approved initial funding for the engineering design in the purple box. So the turquoise box and the orange box, we still need to go get funding for those. But we are well into the development process for this project. Next slide. So this is kind of the rough schedule. For this project, again, the schedule might change depending on the funding and also what we may find during the planning study that might affect the project implementation schedule. But we hope to be done with the planning and environmental process in 2022 and 2023, start the design in 2023, hopefully start the infrastructure construction. So that's the construction of the roads and the major utilities that will be servicing the new homestead in 2025 or 2026. And then the vertical construction in 2026, 2027, and hopeful occupancy in 2028. Next slide. So Darryl was supposed to give this part of the presentation. He's been with the department for many years, but I'm not sure if he can communicate on his end. I guess he cannot. So I'm going to do my best to give his portion of the presentation. So this is the former Voice of America property that the department received from the federal government. I think many of you are familiar with the site. It borders the Kamehameha Schools Learning Center and the U'ukekukui project. And then Sea Country is to the right of the project, Mauka of the project. Next slide. So this slide just gives a chronology of events surrounding the history of the property. So the department acquired the property from the federal government about 10 years ago. And we are starting the planning we have started the planning process for it. Next slide. So as previously mentioned, there are other developments surrounding this project area. The U'ukekukui project, which the department issued a general lease for in November of 2019. The Ho'omalu Ona Kamali'i project, and the Kamehameha Schools Community Learning Center at Māʻili. Next slide. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Cheryl Nojima, who is the project manager on the consultant team, leading the efforts and assisting the department.
Sorry, I was on mute. Good evening, everyone. So my name is, as Andrew mentioned, Cheryl Nojima, and I'm with Greyhound Nojima and Associates. And also like to introduce, I have two of our engineers also on this Zoom meeting, Toby Hanzawa and Kelsey Sasabe, who have been involved with the project with DHHL. So we were selected back in 2018, end of 2018, when we came on board. And this is for the planning and preliminary engineering of the main roadways and utilities for the project site. Based on what we saw and knew about the project, we put together this team of 9 consulting firms. And so we are the overall project manager for this team. And we were contracted back in end of 2019. So we've been working on the project for about almost 2 years now. So our work will run through the all the way through the construction of the roadways and the utilities. And as Andrew mentioned, the design and construction for the residential units will then be handed over to another team that will be selected by the department through a bidding process. Next slide. So this slide shows you some of the baseline investigations that we've completed to date. On the left-hand side, this work was done to pretty much to characterize the site for some of the the key engineering concepts, which brought us to allows us to bring us to a point where we get a good handle on how we're going to drain the site, lay out the roads, and how we're going to sewer the site. This is all the kind of stuff that engineers we get real excited about, but it's really important in the planning of how we're going to how we're going to eventually be able to bring homes, residences to this project site. So yeah, on the left-hand side, you see what we've done to date, starting off with the aerial survey of the topography using, in this case, UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle or drones. And then we also have a sewer connection approval from the City Department of Planning and Permitting. Board of Water Supply, we've submitted inquiry to them for the project site, and still awaiting a project that they're upgrading the one of the booster stations. So once that project is completed, then we should be well on our way for water availability for this particular site. In terms of the preliminary geotechnical work, we've done some baseline investigation. We have about 6 borings and 4 infiltration test pits that were done. The borings went down to roughly about 22 feet deep. The natural resources, looking at the flora, fauna, and also potential critical habitats and any endangered species and wetlands. In terms of traffic, we did, on our team, we do have the traffic engineer who was involved with the Kamehameha Schools Community Learning Center project. So, you know, they are very familiar with the existing traffic conditions within, you know, the project vicinity. So right now that's pretty much what they're looking at, the existing conditions, and they have done some traffic counts out in that area. Some of the environmental work has been done, investigation and archaeological, most of that field work has been done by our archaeologists. On the right-hand side, you see some of these, the work that will continue and cannot really be started yet until the site plan has been selected, the layout. That would include the electrical work, which is you know, power, cable and phone service, and what they call nowadays the mobility analysis or the traffic impact assessment study. This would pretty much model the condition traffic generated through the project, and it will take us all the way to the ultimate condition or full build out of the site. Archaeological, environmental, we'll still be consulting with state agencies, including for archaeological, it's the State Historic Preservation Division, and for environmental, it's the Department of Health, Office of Hazardous Evaluation and Emergency Response. The topographical survey will be expanded to a land-based survey to get more detailed data for us for design purposes. Similarly, the geotechnical exploration will include more borings basically, and more infiltration test pits. Okay, next slide. I think, yeah, this is probably what everybody is curious to see, what we've come up with. And basically we have two, you know, there are 2 basic concepts that were developed. One was, you know, in discussing with the department, you know, we understand that there's a big demand for single family housing, and also nowadays I think there's a developing interest in both, I guess, multifamily, and so we did a combination of multifamily and single family units. Next slide. Okay, so this one, this layout shows the all single family alternative. You can see the entry coming into the project site, coming off of Kulaupuni Street on the left side. The left, I guess it's the left bottom corner. And then we also have about midway through the bottom tier of lots, you see a connector to the Kamehameha Schools Community Learning Center site. And we thought that the department thought that that would be convenient for the folks, the students and the parents or residents who would be studying or working at that learning center site. What we're looking at here is to provide 5,000 square foot unit lots. That's the minimum size. And we're trying to provide, nice array of perimeter lots around the site, as you can see, as well as there's, back to back, in the middle portion of the site, back to back lots and some flag lots as well. And in the next to the Ulukekukui and Māʻili channel, you'll see a stormwater detention basin. That's for our stormwater quality treatment and drainage purposes. And also we have a small park right next to the detention basin. This particular layout shows about, I think it was 209 lots. So that's generally, around 200 is what we're looking at for the all single family alternative. And the next slide, you'll see we have a combination. Can you advance to the next slide, please? So you see in the middle there, the multifamily, that rectangular portion where, we just, we thought it would be convenient to, modularize the layout. So, we could, in this case, the design, the concept of the layout is very similar, but we can have a multifamily site there in the middle, or also if you look towards the left-hand side right below Ulukekukui, that portion of those lots can also be interchanged with multifamily. So we're looking at anywhere from this particular layout shows 280 total units, excuse me, of single and multifamily, and we can go anywhere up to about 330 total units, and that would be roughly about 100, about say 100 residential, single family residential lots, and about 220 or so multifamily type of units. For the multifamily units, we're looking at 2 or 3 story buildings, so low rise type of buildings, as opposed to high rise. We thought that would be more would be better for this particular site. That's pretty much it for as far as for my portion of the presentation. I'll hand it back to, I guess, Andrew to finish up.
Just real quickly, next steps, we'll come back to this later on in the presentation, but so we'll be compiling the feedback from tonight into a consultation report, give our findings to the commission at a later date, complete the preliminary engineering work, and then, as mentioned earlier, go through the environmental assessment process, which also needs to be approved by the Hawaiian Homes Commission before we finalize the environmental assessment. Next slide. So that was our presentation this evening. Now it's your folks' turn to answer questions you may have on the presentation. Just to let you know, we do have our questions for you after this. So we'll take maybe 10 to 15 minutes on questions from you folks. So again, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. I will try to identify those that have their hands up, or if you prefer typing your question in the chat box, you may do so at this time as well. Any questions on the presentation this evening?
Andrew, one question in the chat box is, how many homes was it that Cheryl said again? What were the different amounts that were mentioned?
Sorry, I was on mute. So for the single family alternative, we're looking at about, roughly 200 units. And then for the combination single family, multifamily, we could go up to about 330 units. And the breakdown might be somewhere like about, 100, 1/3 single family and 2/3 multifamily.
Okay, thank you. Do we know at this time if the utilities will be underground or above ground?
That's a good question. I know that in the neighboring areas, some of it is overhead, some of it is underground. So, that's something that our electrical engineer, we've already been in discussion with him about that.
Okay, and I can put the slide back up, but are you able to say where the access road for the project is?
It's going to be off. The main entry would be off of that Kulaupuni Street.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, and then hold on, guys. It's going kind of fast.
Sorry, Cedric, before I'll let you catch up on it. I did see a hand up from Darius. Darius, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Aloha Commission. My name is Darius Hila. I am representing my grandmother who is a waitlist lessee, but then I also just come forward as a neighborhood board member for Nanakuli Māʻili. I think I voice, I guess, our support for multifamily, right, as we move into this new generation of not understanding not every single home or Hawaiian family needs their own lot. So when you do those multifamily things, I think it makes home ownership accessible for a lot more folks. So I voiced that support. And then I just have concern because as a former resident of Ulu Kekukui, I know, like, I echo a lot of the concern that's been brought up in the chat, one in regard to traffic, but two, I guess maybe resident safety. I'm not too sure if that's on your folks' radar, but as a tenant under Uluke, we were constantly harassed by the neighbors across the street. And so I wonder if DHHL is taking into consideration the just putting homes there already and thinking about safety moving forward. Mahalo.
Mahalo for that comment. When you say safety, you mean not necessarily traffic safety, but safety from other neighbors that may threaten personal harm or injury. Is that your concern?
Yes, I echo both traffic safety and resident safety, but ultimately a development that size, I don't think there's much influence they do have, but it is a issue. And I think about ways to possibly avoid that. But
Okay.
I don't think there's any way you can avoid neighbor dispute like that. But just sharing that as somebody who used to live in Ulu Kekukui.
Andrew, can I answer that, Andrew?
Sure, Commissioner.
I just wanted to jump in. Hi, Darius. Aloha.
Aloha, Auntie Patty.
I'm not sure if they mentioned that Ulukekekui also will be, they're working towards closure to relocating the Homeless Catholic Charities project there. And it is DHHL's property. And then they do have an RFP for development for homes also there.
Also, the Uluke would then be transferred into DHHL property and DHHL would potentially maintain the property and use it?
Yeah, aloha, Darius. Cedric here. Commissioner, I'll just jump in. So about a year ago, the department went out with a request for a proposal, maybe a little over a year ago, to develop the Ulukekukui housing project into affordable rentals for beneficiaries. So there was a developer selected, and they are currently securing and completing their financing and design of their new project. And eventually the transitional housing residents will depart, and the current activations that are on that site will cease, and those units will be rehabilitated and used as affordable rentals for beneficiaries.
Oh, awesome. Mahalo, Commissioner Patty. And then Cedric, are you a commissioner as well, you said?
Nope, but
but mahalo,
just,
thank you.
Our
no
staff.
problem. Staff, yeah. Andrew, there's a handful of questions about access, egress, and traffic issues. I'm not sure if this is the right slide for us to put out, but some of the questions are, how will they access from Farrington Highway? Traffic's been a big issue. Do we have a plan to resolve that? Whether we only one way in or one way out into the project. So I wanted to sort of tackle those questions, and I wasn't sure if this was the right slide to do so.
I will have to defer to Cheryl to explain the access, ingress, and egress, and kind of the overall considerations that have been thought of so far with regards to traffic. Perhaps, Cheryl, can you use this slide, or would you like
that's fine. That's fine. So as far as traffic study, I mentioned that we were fortunate to have the same traffic engineer that worked on the traffic impact assessment for the Kamehameha Schools Community Learning Center project, and that project was actually it's actually a 3-phase project, and what you see on the screen right there, I believe, is just phase 1. And in recent discussions, we understand that that the Kamehameha Schools is not planning, or I guess does not have the resources at this time to further develop that area. So
Cheryl, how many access points to the project?
So right now we're looking at just that the main access point would be what I showed at the bottom left-hand corner of the site, of our site. Yeah, right there. And so that would come off from Farrington Highway, St. John's, and coming off Farrington Highway at St. John's and down to our, into our site. But this is something that I know has, come up in, previous discussion, even with that previous traffic impact report. And so when we do model, depending on which layout is selected, we will model, or our traffic engineer will model, for example, what they call the trip generations, vehicle trip rates, things like that will be modeled for the full build out. And so through those models, we will find out, what kind of level of service we can expect to see for all the different, roads surrounding the project site. And then at that point, we would need to make recommendations as to, what kind of improvements would be necessary, if any.
Okay.
So I guess to answer the question, we're not sure yet, but it is definitely something that, we are, once we nail down the site plan, then, we'll get to work on finishing up that traffic study.
Okay.
So Cheryl, just to clarify, so there's one existing planned access right now. There might be others. I think Darryl had mentioned to me in the chat that there is a potential to extend the Kuala street to the Kamehameha Schools.
Right.
So that could be another potential access point.
Right.
And then I think to summarize what you said, what you're saying is we can't determine what the traffic impact will be yet until the department comes to a decision on which alternative site plan we will select, which is what we're here tonight, is to get beneficiary feedback on
Right.
preference on the site.
So, yes, Andrew, I think that's a good transition. I went back to this slide just so that, you know, I think it's important that we're all having this conversation together because we're still early on in the process of the total production pipeline. So we collectively can answer or ask these questions and come up with potential solutions for traffic and things like that. And then, so now we have a few questions about the lot. So just to confirm, Cheryl, the lot sizes that we had discussed in the plan were 5,000 square feet?
Right. Mhm.
Okay, it's 5,000 square foot lots. And we haven't made a determination yet as to whether or not these are gonna be turnkey homes or vacant lots, or we haven't talked at all yet about what the vertical is gonna look like, Andrew, yeah?
No, and actually those are questions that we had for the group later on to see what beneficiary preference would be. So mahalo for those questions. And we
did it.
We want to get your feedback on what you think they should be. But we'll get to that after we finish their questions.
So the yes, one of the questions is how many bedrooms and what the price will be, and I think those are things that we can sort of tackle a little bit later on. Kapua, yes, we will have a copy of this presentation as well as recording of tonight's meeting on the DHHL website for this development project.
There is also another question from Kapua.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't it be faster for future less to access their homes from Kalkama and better for the rest of us passing that road? So I think that is an option that we can look at. Access from Kalkama and see if that makes sense or not.
That's correct.
So thank you for that, Manao.
Mahalo.
Okay, Andrew, there are just one more question. Will there be a bus system through the neighborhood? And then I also see that Jermaine has her hand up.
Oh, okay. We don't know right now if there will be a bus system. We can, during the planning process, we can consult with the city and county to see what would be their requirements to provide bus service for the new homestead community. So I think, yeah, we can definitely make that a point to contact regarding bus service. And during, feel free to ask it.
Did you call upon me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm hearing some static, so I couldn't hear it. Aloha, thank you. I've heard everyone's concerns, and I have expressed in the past concerns about the traffic. But I just wanted to point out that I understand that you are going to try to look for access other than St. John Road and coming through Sea Country, same access as the Kamehameha Learning Center. But I wanted to point out that I live in Nanakuli. I'm a Nanakuli lessee, and I've lived here. I was born in 1967. My grandparents are already here. And so I basically grew up in Nanakuli, and on Farrington Highway is true Nanakuli is the access, one and only access. You have to drive through Nanakuli Farrington Highway to get to Māʻili, Waianae, Makaha. And so what I want to say is that, you know, growing up in Nanakuli, my tutu has always been open towards, you know, homes, especially homes for other individuals in the community, for their families, their children, and for their multi-generations to grow up in. And so I understand that there's concerns about traffic, but I want it to be acknowledged that those of us in Nanakuli has always kept our hearts open, and especially those on live at Farrington Highway on Māʻili Homestead, getting impacted by all those additional cars that went to Sea Country and other developments in Waianae. And so I just want that to be taken into consideration by everyone. And at the same time, I do acknowledge that there needs to be traffic safety as far as, road safety when it comes to getting off of Farrington Highway to the project. But I just wanted to point that out, that it's very important to me that it is acknowledged that those of us in Nanakuli have always been impacted as those that go past us further into the West Coast, and just to maka'ala that information as well. Thank you.
Mahalo, Jermaine. Based on the feedback that we've received so far from meeting participants, it does seem like the environmental assessment, when we go through it, we will need to address the traffic and identify traffic mitigation measures that are appropriate to this project. Okay, so thank you for that, Mana'o. We will flag that for the environmental assessment.
Excuse me, Andrew, can I add something in regarding traffic?
Yes.
Sherlyn is in. Aloha. I wanted to see if you could reconsider and to make sure to, not make sure, but if you look by Sea Country and the backside of the project is that somehow we can utilize the connecting road. There's an emergency access road. Yeah, there's an emergency access road. I'm not sure if that can be used for this project. And it's only because you have development from Ulukekekui and the Voice of America property. And so the access road would be on your right side on Sea Country. They have a exit to the emergency access road backside of Sea Country. So if you can take a look at that consideration too.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, we can take a look at the potential to use that emergency access road as another access point to the property.
Andrew, one other comment asking is if the infrastructure work will include sewer lines or if it's going to be septic.
Darryl, I think the intention was to put sewer to provide sewer service to the property. Is that correct, Cheryl?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And I do want to highlight for everyone that we will be making a copy of the chat. So if you don't, there are some statements in the chat, not necessarily questions. So we are recording anything that you are putting in the chat as far as a statement of concern or anything like that. We are making sure that that's included as part of this beneficiary consultation. Andrew, I think we got all the questions out of the chat at this time.
Okay. If you can advance the slideshow past the question slide. So we have questions for the meeting participants that we were hoping to get guidance and feedback from to help us get through the planning process. So as Cheryl said, one of the major things that we have to get feedback on is what type of community the beneficiaries like to live in. So can you advance past this slide, Cedric? Okay, so this kind of brings us to some initial survey questions. I will be launching a poll, and then for those of you,
wait, oh, sorry, Andrew, did you want me to stop sharing? Oh, sorry.
You can keep it on. It's okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
There you go.
Thank you. So you folks can tell us what your preference is. So there was a question earlier from a meeting participant. Is it going to be a turnkey house or is it going to be a vacant lot? So right now we don't know, but what will help us make a decision is beneficiary feedback and input. on your preference. So a turnkey house, just for those of you who don't know, is a house that the department constructs. We construct, a standard house. We have standard floor plans that the lessee can select from. And at the end of the day, when the department is done, you get your key and you can turn it. And that's why it's called a turnkey house. A vacant lot, on the other hand, allows a lessee to construct a home to the lessee's preferences. The department's turnkey products are usually limited in the options that you can choose for your house. A vacant lot allows for more flexibility. It allows the lessee to build to what he or she can afford. And then I saw a comment in the chat from Philip that we should provide both opportunities in the new development. So maybe 10, 15 more seconds for people to take the poll. And these numbers, it just gives us a gauge. And then another comment from Garnett that both would be great.
I like both.
So it does seem like there is feedback from beneficiaries that both should be considered. So I'm gonna end the poll right now and just share the results so you folks can see. So it does seem like there is a significant percentage of beneficiaries that would like both products, but it does look like the majority would like a turnkey. So maybe the department in the future can plan for mostly turnkey, but allow for vacant lots in some portions of the area. So but it does seem like the overall feedback is that we should plan for providing both types of products. Okay. Next slide. So the next two questions are related to a beneficiary's financial situation. And we ask this not because we want to be nosy or niale in your personal business, but it just gives us a sense of whether or not folks would like to be homeowners at this time. I mean, I think everyone eventually would like to be a homeowner, but whether or not we should consider rental options as well. And also, even for myself, I don't know what my income will be in 8 years. Hopefully I'll be employed, but so it's okay to mark unsure in this one. And then Cedric, if you can go to the next slide. So this question that I'm gonna post as a poll. So for those of you who might not be financially ready, would you be interested in affordable rental options? So I'm gonna launch the poll and you folks can enter the results. Hold on 1 second.
Then Andrew, while you're doing that, we do have a question in the chat with regard to, would this new housing have a rent to own option? The department did do a rent with option to purchase in Kapolei, and we just launched one in Kona. We have not determined if this project will be available for that, but we will include that in the report that there was some interest in a rent with option to purchase option. Who will be the manager for the rentals? I don't think that, or is it for Uluke Kukui? I don't know the name of Kali's group. I think everybody on the call probably knows him, but there is a manager that has been selected for the Uluke Kukui project.
If the department were to offer a rent to own option, we would have to go through a competitive procurement process to select the developer and manager of that project. And thank you for the comments about rent to own. that's actually one of the next questions after this poll questions. So I'm glad you asked that or made that comment. So I'll go ahead, Cedric.
Now, for those who may be calling in and not able to see the chat, Darryl from our Land Development Division did say that we will consult with the State Department of Transportation during the environmental assessment process with regard to Farrington Highway access. A couple more questions coming into the chat, Andrew, while the poll is going. Would the rent to own be open to allow Section 8? I think it depends on how the competitive process works and how the respondents put together a potential rent with option to purchase product. And another question is, will the multifamily dwellings be available for rental option? I think, Andrew, if we do the version that has single family with some multifamily in the middle.
So I guess with regards to the Section 8 housing, yeah, we don't know that yet. If you can let us know what your preference would be, if that is something you'd like to see or if you would not like to see it. Sometimes we get the feedback from some beneficiaries in other geographies that they're in the gap group, that they don't qualify for the lower income programs, but they make much for it, but they don't make enough to afford in the free market and the regular housing market. So they're kind of stuck in between. So yeah, if you can let us know whether or not you prefer or you would like the department to look into providing Section 8 type of, for the that type of income qualification, that would be good input for us to know. So I'm going to, looks like everyone had an opportunity to take the poll, and I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So it looks like the majority of folks attending tonight's meeting are most interested in becoming a homeowner. There are some folks that aren't sure what their financial status will be. And looks like there's a mix of folks that would be very interested or somewhat interested in rentals. And then a good portion of the folks that are not really interested in rentals at this time. And then a couple of folks, about 3 persons that don't know right now. For those of you who indicated that you don't know right now, if you can let us know what questions or information you would need in order to make a decision. You can either do that in the chat or feel free to let me know vocally right now. If you can let us know what other information you might need to arrive at a decision.
Couple questions in the chat, Andrew, seem to be related to the cost of what the rental would be, if it would stay the same, if it would increase. One comment from Kapua is that there's interest in a whole lima-like project in Kapolei, which was the rent with option to purchase project. However, there were some, barriers that developers had with that project. So I think that's good feedback.
So okay, so the interest in sorry, let me start over. The potential interest in renting is dependent upon the rent amount or the rent price, and people would want to make sure that the rent price stays pretty stable. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
And then the other is that there could be an appetite for an option to purchase if there was a rental. Yeah.
Okay. Next slide. Okay, so I'm glad people have asked questions about what would be rental options and that they would like to see rent with option to purchase. So this is where we wanted to get your feedback on. So I'm gonna, so, you know, there was a question about whether or not the multifamily would be rental. So it is a possibility that we're looking at, but we want beneficiary feedback on if they think that would be desirable. There's also, you know, we know that our population is aging, so there might be interest in kupuna housing. And a lot of you have already voiced interest in rent with option to purchase of single family homes. And then the last two choices. So for this one, you can feel free to choose more than one choice. So if you're interested in more than one, feel free to indicate that to us. So I will launch the poll. I'm getting better at this. Okay. So I'll give maybe 2 minutes for people to take the poll.
Andrew, while the poll is going, there is a question in the chat for rental housing. Would there be a homeowners association? And what are the risks of losing a home if there's a hiccup in finances?
Those are good questions that I don't think we have a definitive answer right now, but I do believe in the Ho'olima project as well as our current rent-to-own project in North Kona on Hawaii Island in La'iopua, that there is a homeowners association that makes sure that the property is in good condition, so that at the time of purchase, the property is in good condition. So we might have a similar model for that, and we might use a lot of our lessons learned from the Ho'olima experience and the La'iopua experience. Did I answer the question, Cedric?
I think part one, what are the risks of losing a home if there's a hiccup in finances? I don't think that we're ready to answer something like that yet until we know more about what a project could potentially look like.
So I think everyone has had an opportunity to take the poll. I am going to close the poll. And share the results. So it looks like the vast majority of folks would like to rent a single family home versus a townhouse or low-rise apartment. There's some interest in kupuna housing. And for those of you who indicated that you don't know right now, let us know what information you might need to make a decision. Okay. So this is the last survey question. So this is kind of the meat of the feedback that we wanted to get from beneficiaries. So, you know, given that we may have a multifamily opportunity or just all single family lots, and the different types of housing opportunities, turnkeys, vacant lots, rent with option to purchase, which alternative would you folks prefer the department pursue in this new development? Alternative one, all single family lots, or alternative two, single family and multifamily lots, or right now you don't really know. It depends. So Cedric, if you can go to the next slide. We're just gonna put the two alternatives on the screen, and then I'm gonna launch the the poll. So let us know what your preference. I see a question from Garnett in the chat. Can you explain what a multifamily lot is? So a multifamily lot is like a townhome or a rise type of apartment. Cheryl, did you have any other examples of a family site or apartment or unit?
Yeah, that's it. The townhouse, I think, is a more popular these days. What we've been seeing.
So probably give about 1 more minute for people to take the poll. Oh, William joined the conversation. Just wanted to acknowledge William Isla, the chair of the department, for taking the time to join us this evening.
Aloha.
Aloha, Chairman.
Great conversation so far.
One of the questions that's coming into the chat is, I don't know if I missed it, but alternative 2, how many single family homes in alternative 2? Cheryl, do you know what the mix breakdown is?
For alternative 2, I think it was roughly about that. We can go up to about, say, 100 single family and 200 multifamily. For roughly 300, say, versus the alternative 1 would be all single family, about 200 lots, just for round numbers.
So I noticed that there's a couple individuals who said I incorrectly answered the poll. Just for your reference, we'll take that into consideration when we look at the final results and assign your correct response to the correct to the tally. But it okay, and I can see the results, but you can't. So I'm gonna end the poll right now.
Yeah, Andrew, while you're doing that, there is a question about if there's going to be yards for the multifamilies and if we've determined the bedrooms and the townhouse mix yet.
We have not determined the bedroom size at this point in the planning process. And Cheryl, correct me if I'm mistaken, but looking at the site plan, it does not, I mean, I think there could be like a mini yard, but I don't think we've really made exact plans of what the multifamily lot would be like.
Yeah, that's correct. That would probably be handled in the I guess the next phase when the department goes out with a request for proposal for the vertical or the development of the housing units. But there could be gardens and in addition to not really individual yards, but maybe garden spaces in that multifamily area.
I think, Cheryl, when we get closer to the actual final design, we might be able to make those determinations. And there's a question about parking too, so those things will sort of come up in the next phase.
That will be, that's correct.
Yeah. And Kapua, yes, there will be many beneficiary consultations on this project as we go through the production pipeline.
Okay, so it does seem like more meeting participants would prefer alternative alternative one, the all single family lot option. But I do note that there is a significant portion of meeting participants that are interested in alternative two right now. Okay. There's a question from Kapua. How many Oahu waitlist did the postcard invitation go out to? And Perlene, correct me if my memory is wrong, but I believe we sent to all Oahu applicants.
Correct.
We dropped the whole list for this one.
Right, correct.
And okay, and then there are other comments coming in about the benefits of multifamily, that it would provide opportunity for kupuna, and also that some may not have the income for single family lots or the time to maintain a yard for a single family home. Okay, so just kind of wrapping up. So thank you folks for taking the time to share your mana'o with us throughout the meeting. So again, these are the immediate next steps in the planning process. So we're in the planning phase. We need to do the design and engineering phase, and then the construction phase, and then the awards phase. So, but in the immediate future for the planning phase, these are the next steps. So from the, we will be compiling the results from this consultation meeting. We will incorporate the mana'o into a master plan, and we will present that feedback to the commission. We also have to complete the preliminary engineering, and we also have to go through the environmental assessment process. So, you know, all of the comments related to traffic, that's the type of impact that we need to assess and figure out how we can best mitigate those types of impacts, both to Waianae residents and Nanakuli residents. So the environmental process, the assessment process will be ongoing and into 2022 and 2023. So we hope to be all with the environmental assessment process by 2023. And again, the environmental assessment needs to be approved by the Hawaiian Homes Commission. If you have, so again, the information from tonight's meeting will be on the same website you used to log into tonight's meeting. It'll be on the dhl.hawaii.gov site. If you had any questions, here is our contact information. I think a lot of the questions tonight we might not be able to answer at this time because we're still kind of in the early planning phase, but to the extent possible that we can try to address your questions, we will try. But some of the detailed questions about like the size of the yard or how many bedrooms, we don't know yet in this early planning phase. With that, I guess just wanted to give an opportunity to Chair Ayla if he had any closing remarks since he was kind enough to join us this evening.
So mahalo, Andrew, and staff. I mean, this is a pretty good comprehensive presentation of what we know now we know that there'll be further discussion and further refinement, and then I'm sure we'll be back with the refinements to the beneficiaries. I would just recommend that everybody think about the opportunity that's presented here. You know, the last project in Waianae, I believe, was the Waianae Kai project, which was more than 20 years ago. So it's a great opportunity to assist folks on the wait list with this vision of Kuhio and of the opportunity to either have a single family home or be part of a multifamily situation. Once we get through the process, we still will need assistance from beneficiaries on the wait list and beneficiaries that are lessees to assist us when lobbying the legislature for the design. I believe we may have the design, but the construction fund. So by no means is this project completely funded at this point, and we look forward to your assistance in making this project come out to fruition. So mahalo nui to all of you who gave up your evening tonight, especially to staff, because I know you had a long day today.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, Andrew, there's a flurry of questions that came in
okay.
at the end. I'm sure we're going to tackle a few of them.
Sure. Yep.
Let's see. I'm trying to go back here. So there was a question about is there an opportunity for a single person to qualify to purchase a single family home? I believe the answer is yes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in our chat where it is the department's complimentary or free financial literacy courses, where we have financial counselors that you can work with directly to have them assess your income and prepare over the next couple of years while we develop this project. So I'm going to put that into the chat for everybody. Andrew, will poll questions be posted on the DHHL website to give others the opportunity to respond?
I can work with you, Cedric, to provide that opportunity.
Yeah. The presentation for sure will be on the website. The video of this beneficiary consultation will be there, as well as all this contact information, so you can communicate directly with the department. I think the most important thing is that you, as beneficiaries, get your opinions and voices over to us in any way, so that we can compile it before we get to present it to the Hawaiian Homes Commission.
And just to add on to that, we typically take comments up to 30 days after the meeting is held. So if you're like me, oftentimes it's like, oh, I should have said that during the meeting, or I should have shared this. So we do allow for opportunity after the meeting to submit comments to us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sorry, Andrew, can I just add one more thing? I know that this presentation and the questions, as you posted up on the screen, will be posted on the website. So with that 30-day additional comment period, people can view the presentation and provide the answers to the questions by going back and watching this presentation one more time. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for that suggestion. Yes, people can do that.
Thank you, Chair. A question: will applicants on the wait list prior to 1985 be considered when lots are offered? So we don't have someone from our Contact and Awards division here on the call, but I do know that their process is when they go out for lot offers, they really start from application date. So they'll go from the beginning and start offering until we get enough people in the pipeline to produce a home, or to produce a list to invite for the lot offering event. As we go through the beneficiary consultations, Andrew, we can invite somebody from the Contact and Awards division to be here to answer those type of future questions a little bit more in depth. Comments about townhomes have upstairs, downstairs. I think those are things that we will get to as we continue with this process, whether or not those multifamily units should have elevators. Yes, we would have liked more people to join our beneficiary consultation as well. Okay, has there been any communication with the elementary school, and will they be making preparations for increased families?
As part of the environmental assessment process, we do need to consult with agencies such as the Department of Education to see if they have comments on how our proposed project will impact their ability to deliver services. So we will be reaching out to the Department of Education to get their comments. I see a hand up from Sophia.
Aloha. I had a quick question going back to the wait list. So if you're on the wait list, for instance, I'm like 7,000 on the wait list. When you guys begin to award, you guys start from the top again. It doesn't go from where you left off.
It starts from the top. So the beneficiaries who've been on the waiting list have an opportunity to accept an offer and accept an opportunity to select or defer. And if
Okay.
they defer, then we'll just keep going until someone doesn't defer.
Okay, mahalo.
Had trouble finding the link. Suggest that we put that on the front page of the website. Duly noted. Let's see, comments about townhomes, duplexes, a suggestion, and that the rentals and multifamily could potentially be more affordable. I think we got them all at this point, Andrew.
Okay. Again, mahalo for taking the time to spend your evening with us and give us your mana'o. Our contact information is up there, so feel free to continue to share mana'o with us. And we will be posting the information from tonight's meeting on the website. So mahalo nui, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you. And then Andrew, I'm just gonna catch this last one while we're still here
Okay.
from Brandy. If regarding the waiting list, if you're on the list and you can qualify, is there a way or any chance that you have a better chance? Being qualified is something that we recommend for everyone. Either be qualified on your own or work with our financial literacy program through the Hale program to get qualified, but we do go in order. So, if you're qualified and you're ready to go when your name comes up, clearly that's gonna be good for you and your ohana. But we do go in order of application date. Okay.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Good night, and thank you, everyone.
Aloha, Andrew.
Hey, Garnet. Aloha.
Mahalo. Have a nice evening.
Mahalo.
Good stuff.
Mahalo.